On this channel, we love to run numbers. Our channel is called $1 Million Made Easy. In some videos, we show you how to get to $1 million. In this video, we want to look at somebody that's going to start withdrawing. You want to specifically deal with the Dave Ramsey situation, where he a while back said that you could easily withdraw 8% a year because the stock market's average 12% and inflation's 4%. So 12 minus 4 equals 8. Anyway, that really drew a lot of fire from people. And what I want to do is just run some numbers just to see where somebody might have been if they did this over the last 100 years and projecting ahead for the next 100 years, actually the next 35 years. Let's see where somebody might be. Okay, $1 million, starting with $1 million. We're going to give a 3% COLA. As you withdraw money, we're going to pick $6,750 a month, which is 8.1%, which is basically what Dave Ramsey said: you withdraw and never run out of money. What we've done is run the numbers for the last 100 years just to see how many times somebody might have run out of money. And this is actually the numbers 20 times you would have run out of money. And you can see them in red over here. A couple of times you would have run out of money even after 10 years when you withdrew this kind of money. But over a 30-year period, you would have run out of money in 27 times. But we just want to show people that these numbers just don't really work out too well. Now, what some people might say, well, you wouldn't leave 100% in the S&P 500. So what I decided to do is take 30%, actually 60-40 split. Let's put 40 over in a cash reserve account and leave 60 in the S&P 500. Let's see how that affects our numbers. Now, again, 20 and 27 is what we saw with that. Let's go ahead and update this and see how these numbers might change with 40% going into a cash reserve account. If you would notice, it's even worse. 32 times you run out of money in the last 100 years, in 20 years, and 39 times you would have run out of money in 30 years. Why is that? Because what's happening here is you're withdrawing 8%, but your cash reserve account's only getting 3%. Let's change this to 4%. Let's see if the numbers change much. So what we like to do on this channel is show you all different kinds of numbers. Let's see if it drops from 32 and 39. Yeah, the 30-year just dropped from 39 to 38. So that 4% in the cash reserve didn't do much. Why? Because 8% is so much more than that 4%. What's something else somebody could do if they want to stay with this kind of withdrawing $6,750? You could eliminate your COLA, or at least go down. Let's try that. Everything else remaining the same. 2% COLA on that 6750. See if these numbers change much. 32, 38, 24, 32. So you're still running out of money in 20 years. After 24 years of the last 100, let's do 1%. Again, I don't know if anybody really want to do this, but if you like to withdraw 8% of their nest egg, you're down to 16 times you're out of money. And of course, if we go to 0, it ought to be even less. So I guess that's an error. If you want to keep withdrawing 8% a year, you're going to have to cut back on your COLA. And still 14 times you would have run out of money after 20 years and 19 after 30 years. Probably the reasonable thing to do is go down. Let's go down to 5,500, which would be 6.6%. Let's actually go to 5,000. Got $1 million. You want to take out 5,000 a month. That'd be 6%. How many times would you run out of money? Let's go back to the 3% COLA. So you're taking out 5,000 instead of 6,750. So we want to keep the COLA in there. How many times we run out of money? 5 times in the last 100 years. After 20 years, given this scenario, 40% in a cash reserve account, paying 4%. Anyway, let's and 9% you would out of money after 30 years. Let's do 2% COLA. Just see how you can just see how important that COLA really is. 4 and 4, 1% COLA, which is kind of meaningless really, but let's just see how much it affects the numbers. 3 and 3. Now, I want you to notice most of these ones where you ran out of money were actually the Depression years. So probably that isn't very fair to do that. That's why I looked at the most recent returns, 73 and 74, where you had a downturn. Let's just go and look there. You had this downturn right here. And then we also want to look at this downturn right here. We don't want to necessarily look at the Depression years because that was so horrible. So we want to give Dave Ramsey a little benefit of the doubt that we're not going to have Depression type years again. But let's run the numbers from 1973 right here. Okay, 1973, 74, you would have come out really well. Again, what we're doing here is whenever there's a down market, we're not giving ourselves a COLA, even though we're giving our, let's go back to 3%, by the way. So even though uh, we're giving ourselves a 3% COLA in the good years, we're not giving any COLA during the down years. Okay, let's update this, see where somebody might be. Forgetting about those down years. Again, 5 of those times, 9 in the over 30 years, most of those are in the depression years, but you still had some. Let's go down through here. You still had some in 1965 and 1969. You had 4 more after 30 years, and you had some in the 1999 to 2001. Why? Because that market dropped too. Let's look at the 1999 situation here. And there you can see it dropped, and you're running out of money right here, given this scenario after like 19 years. So even the 5,000 a month would run you out of money if you would have done this in 1999. So what most people recommend is sticking with the 4% rule. I'm just going to run it at 4.2. And I want you to see the numbers here. 3% COLA, 3,500 a month, 0 and 0. That's 40% in the cash reserve. Let's do 30% in the cash reserve. See if it makes any difference at all. That'd be leaving a little bit more in the S&P 500. Still 0, 0. So in other words, you're not over the last 100 years, given this scenario, 4.2% withdrawal, with some of it going into cash reserve. Let's put this down to 3% because that's probably a little more realistic. 3% over the decades. One more update just to make sure these stay zeros. Again, we can run these numbers all day long just to show you. Well, there would be one time, again, it was 1929. After 30 years, you would have run out of money. But every other scenario, if you just stick to the 4% rule, you're going to be fine giving yourself a 3% COLA and just putting some over in a cash reserve. Let's just do it with nothing going in the cash reserve just to see if it makes any difference at all. We're still going to have that one in 1929, I'm sure. Now we're going to have 2 and 2, but both of those were in 1929 and 1930 because those were such horrible years down through here. You got knocked down so quickly. So in other words, the 4% rule really holds up over time. It has for 100 years, and that's why people recommend it rather than the 8% rule, because then you have to get kind of questionable what you do with your COLAs and so on. Hopefully these numbers make sense to you. Our channel is called $1 Million Made Easy. We run numbers often for every kind of a scenario in the withdrawal stage and also in the accumulation stage. Please consider subscribing. Tell your friends about this channel. We'll run numbers. Whatever you ask me to run, I'll run the numbers. But thanks for watching.